So I've been teaching Norwegian to thousands of people the last couple of years. And I saw this thing. I saw that there was nowhere in Norway to actually go and learn how to express yourself and speak and learn how to have conversations in Norwegian. And I've been taking the top 10 mistakes that students do and put them all together in this video. So watch out for all 10 of them because they will slow down or maybe even hinder you for learning Norwegian altogether. Alright, so here are the top 10 mistakes. Let's go. Mistake number 1. Too focused on pronunciation. I hear so many teachers telling their students to just learn a few phrases and then practice the pronunciation and make it perfect. And that is the stupidest advice I've ever heard. And I'll explain you why I think so. Because having a perfect pronunciation in the beginning when learning a language is ridiculous in my opinion. It's only going to make you lose your motivation to learn more. When students come to me and say, Preben, I know some Norwegian, I'm learning, I'm feeling good, but the pronunciation is so difficult. And I tell them, really good, you're doing perfect. Because in my opinion, and what I've seen so many times, is that people should focus on the basics and build a good base in the vocabulary and grammar before worrying too much about the pronunciation here. We can fix your pronunciation a bit later down the road. What I think is that you should build momentum and motivation in the beginning and start building sentences, have fun, ask questions, and try to understand what Norwegians are saying. And then we have mistake number 2, overlooking the grammar in Norwegian. First of all, I have to say that I really understand that you want to skip this part with the grammar. I was doing the same thing myself when I was learning Spanish. I just kind of wanted to skip to the end of the book. I just wanted to speak, I just wanted to have fun with the language. And I wanted to just skip the grammar part. I felt I could just learn it by using it. But what I realized here is that I just ended up with so many gaps in my grammar and making so many mistakes. So here's my advice for you. Because I really think the best way to learn is by using the language. Is actually what I did. But what I would have done differently is that I would also have studied some grammar. Not too much, like exaggerated, just sitting by yourself home with a book and just reading. But when you progress and when you start speaking and having conversations and trying, go back to the book sometimes or go back to Google or YouTube and watch some grammar videos where you should be doing it, okay? Or just follow a course or a book where there is some structure of grammar here, okay? It's really my advice for you because it's such a low-hanging fruit because it doesn't take that much effort to do it, but it will benefit you so much with your level of Norwegian here. It's probably one of the biggest things I see with people who are learning Norwegian, that if they're saying a sentence and they make a small mistake that is a simple mistake, you can really hear that they are not Norwegian or that they didn't study the grammar. It's so easy to spot. And in my opinion, when you reach a high level, it's such a low-hanging fruit that is so easy to fix with just a little bit of grammar every day, or a little bit of grammar once a week, twice a week, okay? Just do that, just don't skip this part. It's so frustrating to see from me. And then number 3 is this one. Memorizing vocabulary without any context. You have probably tried to learn new vocabulary using flashcards before. I have tried it. I'm guessing that you also probably have tried it. Although this is a great way to learn vocabulary, there's a step missing here. Because even though you learn a word, sometimes it's difficult to put it into context. Let me explain this. For example, let's say we learn the word hus, which means house. In Norwegian, hus can take different forms: definite, indefinite, and so on. So if you learn, instead of just learning hus, you can learn the sentence. For example, learning a phrase like huset er stort, the house is big, you learn to see that huset is definite, the house is big, er stort. So you learn to put it into context. Okay, so you can understand the full sentence and how they're connected, the different parts of the sentence are connected to each other. So my suggestion for you is this. When you learn a new word in Norwegian, try to put it into context, all right? So if you learn a word like, for example, mobil, like a phone, or you learn, for example, how to say en gutt, a boy. Put it into a sentence. Try saying something like, Jeg ser en gutt. I see a boy. All right? And then it brings us to the next mistake. And number 4, to avoid speaking in Norwegian. To make you understand this one even better, let me go inside our brain. The brain is a really funny machine, and it will only take in information that it really needs. The rest it wants to get rid of, because to block out all the noise that is going on in the world. The brain forgets this word for survival purposes. It just can't deal with all this information, all these words and all these things going inside here. Then, let's say we learn a new word. Then we write it down and repeat it the next day and the next week. And in addition to that, we'll also use it in conversations. We'll speak, we'll dig out information from here and put it into words and speak with another person. So we are telling our brain that we need to learn this word because I already used it 3-4 times and I need it to speak. I remember when I was learning Spanish, a great thing I did is that before I went to school every day, because I went to a Spanish school, I took a note in my notepad and I wrote down 5 sentences I wanted to say that day. So then I went around, read the sentence, and then spoke it out to one of my friends or my teachers or whatever. Like this, after a few months, my vocabulary and my sentences just skyrocketed because I forced myself to speak and I started to remember all the things that I said. And I saw this thing, I saw that there was nowhere in Norway to actually go and learn how to express yourself and speak and learn how to have conversations in Norwegian. That's why we created Norwegian Community's conversation lessons, where we teach people to speak fluent Norwegian in just 3 months actually. The lessons are on Zoom to make it super flexible for everyone. So this is the way we do it. First, we make you study new vocabulary and phrases. Then you will enter a Zoom call, a Zoom class with a teacher and other students. There you will practice your Norwegian, have conversations and speak for 1 hour. Then after the lesson, we'll send you the video and the notes and you will go through them once again, just to nail it down so you do remember everything that you have studied and spoken about in the lesson and correct the mistakes you did in the lesson. And we make you do this a few times every week. And the results have been so good. We've been teaching hundreds of students how to speak fluent Norwegian with this method. And then number 5 mistake that people make is limited exposure to media and Norwegian content. Now, this is really important because one thing is learning the grammar, the vocabulary, how they speak. Another thing is learning their mentality, the way they speak, the culture, what they speak about, how they speak, and how they treat each other. By listening to media and news, you'll understand what people are speaking about in Norway. What are they scared of? What are they happy about? What are they complaining about? All of this you will learn there. And second of all, by doing this, you will get used to the different dialects in Norway, how they sound like, the sounds, pronunciation, everything you will learn there. They do speak really fast there because it's in the media, and even sometimes myself are having problems to understand because they use a lot of difficult expressions and things. But it's gonna give you a lot of things, and it's gonna give you like a lot of culture, the way they speak, how fast they speak. It's really cool, and I think you will really like it. Even though also for me, when I was learning Spanish and Italian as well, it is really difficult in the beginning. And in my opinion, you're probably not gonna learn a lot in the beginning. You're probably not gonna understand anything. But the thing is that after a few weeks and a few months, you'll start to pick up words, dialect, and you'll understand more and more. Now, for me, when I watch Italian and Spanish news, even when you speak about really difficult things, I can understand more or less everything they say. And then number 6 is not seeking feedback. Okay, this one is really interesting because I see some of my students, they speak Norwegian and they have a lot of confidence speaking in Norwegian and they speak really fast as well. But there's one issue here. A lot of what they're saying, a lot is completely wrong. And some of the things sounds quite weird actually. And when I start speaking with them, I ask them how they learn Norwegian, and a lot of them, they learned Norwegian by themselves without anyone correcting them. And I think this can be a big issue sometimes, because a lot of times when you think you're doing good, you're actually not doing so good, because you don't have anyone giving you feedback, some structure, small things to correct, because a lot of times it's just small things you need to say a bit differently, be a little bit less or more formal, your pronunciation of one specific word you're doing wrong all the time. That if you have someone, maybe not every day, but maybe a few times a week or a month, that is gonna give you some kind of guidance, a mentor or a teacher that can like look at your sentences, your pronunciation, and you get some super valuable feedback. So you don't go around and just repeating the same mistakes over and over again, year after year, until you think that you're actually not doing a mistake and you think you're doing perfect, but actually you're not. And then number 7 is a funny one, because you probably know this one already. To translate word by word. Depending on where you're from, a lot of the time, if you're like me, you're gonna take your language or English and just translate directly to Norwegian. And this can be a great thing to do a lot of the time, but especially with Norwegian, since this language is full of expressions and sayings, it doesn't work out a lot of the time. So just make sure and double check with someone before you translate word by word and just start using it, okay? And number 8, this is a really big one, skipping regular practice. If you're gonna take one thing away from this video, is this. If you wanna learn a language or Norwegian, you have to do it regularly. And I really mean this when I say that you have to put in some kind of routine in your day or in your week. Okay, so look at this. For example, every morning I'm gonna study Norwegian for 30 minutes. Or when I finish work, I'm gonna sit down and read one page of a book. Or it can be even just Saturdays and Sundays, I'm gonna read or translate one song from English to Norwegian and learn it, okay? It's so important, it's so crucial to have consistency if you wanna learn Norwegian. So for example, last week a student came to me and said, oh, I'm having problems to learn the language, Norwegian is difficult, and I've been trying for 2 years now, I still don't speak fluently. And I asked him, how many times a week do you study Norwegian? He said, sometimes 1, sometimes 0, sometimes 2. I said, I understand it's really nice that you want to learn Norwegian, but it's so important to have some kind of structure or routine if you want to learn the language. Like I said, just put away, even just once a week or twice a week, put away some time or some kind of routine where you watch a movie in Norwegian, watch one YouTube video, whatever you have to do to keep your brain used to Norwegian. If not, you will forget it. Me, myself, now it's been 2.5 years since I moved away from Spain. And after about 1 year, when I moved away, I started forgetting the language. So when I tried to speak Spanish, I couldn't. So what I did here is that I did once a month, just once a month, because I knew the language, but I just needed to refresh it. Once a month, I started speaking Spanish with my Spanish friend. I just called him, say, hey, podemos hablar español? I just spoke a little bit of Spanish with him, because like this, I don't forget. Maybe I don't improve my Spanish. I should probably do it a bit more then, but at least I don't forget the language when I do these things. So I would really recommend this to do this. I've seen this so many times with my students that they're not consistent, because you will forget it. And we have this one, number 9, fear of making mistakes. Look, I really understand this one, because myself, when I moved to Spain, I was so scared of making mistakes, because I just wanted to learn to reach a good level before starting speaking, because I didn't want to be judged here. But I quickly realized that I never actually felt ready to speak. I needed someone to push me. So what I did, I just forced myself to speak in Spanish. I sounded like a fool, really. Like for months and months, people were laughing, they were making fun of me. But I really thought, like, if I want to learn this language, this is what I have to do. I have to start speaking. I have to make mistakes. I kind of become friend with mistakes. I learn how to make mistakes in a good way without getting upset or without being sad or stressed or feeling ashamed. I just have to kind of laugh with them. I made also a fool of myself. Yeah, I don't know how to speak Spanish now. I'm learning. So I was just like that. I was kind of becoming more laughing also of myself. Yeah, I'm sorry I made this mistake. Maybe I said something that was rude or like that. But also they were nice to me, so they helped me. But I really suggest this, just have fun with it. Like if people laugh at you a little bit, just laugh with them. Like, yeah, actually I don't know how to speak. I'm learning now. Like that, people actually started to help me a lot. I made friends like that as well. And after doing it for a little bit, I learned so much, and it helped me so much. much. I would really suggest you to do the same. And then number 10 that I see people make a lot is this one. They're failing to explore the culture side of Norway. I spoke a little bit about this before, but I'm gonna say more about it here because it's really important to learn also the culture side of the language. Why? Because learning culture will actually also help you with the language. An example here is this. For example, in Norway, we don't say good afternoon or good morning too much. We just say like hello or goodbye, like hei or ha det. Because if you know the culture, the way Norwegians are, the way we are in general, you will understand why we don't do it. Because if you can understand the cause of things, it's a lot easier to understand the language and why things are like that. For example, why do you think we curse so much in the north of Norway? Well, if you understand the culture, you will know why it's like this. All right, that was all 10 mistakes. Now, I hope you took notes and doing what you can to avoid them. So this video is for you who wants to become a better person and to speak better Norwegian and to understand Norwegians better and maybe even go to Norway one day if you want to live there. So I really hope you enjoyed it, og vi ses i neste video. Kos deg, ta vare på deg selv.